Dear students, in our last class, we were discussed about how an instruction is executing inside the processor. So, the instruction was stored in the memory. So, the memory will be taken in terms of address, memory address. So, what processor will do? Processor will give the address to the memory unit. Memory unit, that corresponding address instruction will be taken from the memory unit and it is giving to the processor. So we already explained the flow of execution. Once again, I will tell you just for remind you. So the first instruction's address will be storing in the program counter and that will be transferred to memory address unit, memory address register. So that memory address register will be transferring that address to the memory unit through the address bus. So if the memory address is specified as AE03, that corresponding set of instruction will be taken from this memory unit and it will, that is the data present in the memory unit that was taken and it will be stored into the MDR register, memory data register, and then that corresponding instruction will be started to executing. Before executing that corresponding instruction, it will be copying into the IR register, that is the instruction register. Once the instruction register, the program is there, once the instruction is present in the instruction register, that time the instruction started decoding it and then accordingly it will be executing. In the same time, your program counter will be incrementing to the next immediate instruction, that is AE04. So this is the overall execution of the instruction. Now we'll move into the more details. So the operands will be getting to the ALU from two different ways. One is from the general purpose register and one from, I told, directly from MDR. The data will be taken from memory. Along with the MAR, it is transferring a read signal, so the data will be available in MDR. Even directly from MDR also it is possible, or even it will be possible from the general purpose registers. So ALU will be getting data either from general purpose register or from MDR. Second one is if it wants to perform the operations in the ALU, it will be taking the operands from there and it is processing the operation inside the ALU. After that, the result should be written back to the either to memory or it will be storing into the general purpose registers. So either it can write into the memory. So again, the result will be writing into MDR and address where it should write, that will be specified to MAR, and then it will be writing into the corresponding memory, or even it can write directly into the general purpose registers. And during this all operation, the program counter will be increasing to the next immediate value. Next thing is whether in all the cases the program counter will be increasing to the next immediate instruction. It may not be the case always. For example, if you are having a gem statement, gem, or it is a go to statement to some other extra label you are mentioning, so the address should point to that corresponding address. So, for example, you are having an instruction like a go to. Few languages will be supporting this go to statement and all. Go to 2000. So, if the instruction current program counter value is 1000, and if the this is the execution instruction present inside 1000, it means that after 1000 program execution, it is not 1001. The program counter should load with a 2000. So in that case, your program counter should go to that corresponding address. Other, that is one possibility for instead of normal increment operation of program counter. If it is a gem statement, if it is a go to statement, during that time your program counter will be loaded with the instruction label. Instruction label is the address where the next instruction is residing. For example, in this case, go to 2000, it was mentioned. Next thing is, other than this program counter normal execution, the program counter may be randomly taken some other program, completely some other program, or even to some other address. In which case this is happening? This will be happening in the case of interrupts. So what do you mean by interrupt? The interrupt, the normal word meaning itself is it is deviating the normal flow. Somebody is interrupting you. So in that sense, you want to do some things, but someone is disturbing you. So even in the same way, interrupt is also mean that the processor want to execute the program one by one, but in between some emergency situation has arisen. So the processor should first solve the emergency situation, then it can do the current work. So that is called the interrupts. So the normal execution of the program may be preempted if some device requires some urgent servicing. So that is called the interrupt. So the normal program execution is disturbed by certain devices which needs an urgent service. That is one way. The next thing is the normal execution of the current program must be interrupted. The device raise an interrupt signal. So if a device is raising an interrupt signal, the current program execution will be stopping and it will be checking what is the emergency work the processor should do now. So based on that, that may be a set of things as a new program. That program is written as an interrupt service routine. We will see the details in our next modules, but you just know interrupt service routine is the extra work. It is routine means it's a function. So interrupt service routine means it is a function that should execute when an interrupt happened inside the processor. So processor will stop its current execution and it will do some other work. What is that work? That work will be specified in the interrupt service routine. And before doing this interrupt service routine, again the processor should know that what was the current program's working status. So current system information it will back up before started executing the interrupt service routine. What all are the things it will back up and restore? One thing is current program counter value, and then the current general purpose registers value, and even the control signal information details. So those things will be storing inside the processor before it started executing the interrupt service routine. So what is interrupt service routine? The program is processor is doing a set of tasks, but in between some emergency work some devices want. During that time, first processor will finish that emergency work thing, then it will come back and resume the work what it was doing earlier. And that is the concept of interrupt. So we'll see what are the different types of interrupts we are having. Mainly four different types. One is generated from the program itself. One may be some timer related thing. One may be related to the input output device, or few will be related to the hardware failure. Like if a power failure happened in the system, immediately it should take the precautions of what all are the current elements were there or current applications were running. So those things it will be taking into consideration. So that is a sudden unpredictable thing was happened into your program or even into the system. So processor should handle that issue first. That's one example of hardware failure. Then program failure means inside the program itself, a few set of syntactically it is completely correct, but when you are running the program, you are getting a certain set of error. For example, even in your CPL lab, you may got the error like a segmentation failure. So what is that? So such type of errors are unpredictable. When the syntax and everything is correct, even you are trying to divide a number by zero. or even you are trying to access an array of third element, the array of size 5, and you are trying to access the sixth element. So while execution of the program itself, a certain set of interrupts are occurring inside the program, and that is related to the program type interrupt. So generally some conditions will occur as the result of the instruction execution. For example, arithmetic overflow, division by zero. So those things will be included in the program interrupts. Timer interrupts means, see, operating system should do certain set of synchronization periodically. So there will be a timer associated with that, even if whatever other things were doing the operating system, the processor also. When that particular time comes, the operating system will start updating the things. So that is a timer related one. So that will be an example of timer interrupt. So that will be generated by the timer within the processor. This allows the operating system to perform certain functions on a regular basis. Next is input output related one. So generated by an IO controller, the signal is normal to signal normal completion of an operation or to signal a variety of error conditions. So for handling the error condition and the normal flow of the execution, input output unit will also be tracing certain interrupts. Next is hardware related failures. So for example, the power failure or any hardware component first stopped working. So during that time, even hardware interrupts are also raising into the processor. So these are few examples. So only one thing you should know out of all this explanation, only one thing you should know. What is there are usually the program counter will be increasing to the next immediate instruction, but in certain cases the program counter will stop its execution or stop the increment to the next immediate value. Instead of that, it will be completely deviating to an interrupt service routine. This will be happen only when the processor is having certain interrupt to handle. So that interrupt means it is an emergency condition facing by any of the either from program or input output or even from operating system or even the hardware side thing. So based on that emergency thing, the processor should handle first. That complete thing, what it has to do, that was mentioned in the interrupt service routine. And other things, before going into the interrupt service routine, the system will store the program counter value and what all are the general purpose registers value, what all are the control signal has generated. Once it has completed the interrupt service routine, again it will go back and resume the initial work it was having. Okay, that is the only thing you should study from this interrupt thing. Now we'll come into today's major topic. What do you mean by performance of a system? You have created a system. What all are the factors can affect the performance of a system? The speed with which a computer executes a program is affected by the design of its hardware and machine language instruction. Mainly, three factors will be affecting the program execution. One is what type of instruction, how it will be translating into the machine code. So that was doing by our compiler. So the efficiency of the compiler will definitely affect the program execution speed. Second thing is what are the different instruction set available, whether it is having lot of instructions in which can handled by the processor or only a specific set of instruction. Next is the hardware or design of the system. So mainly three parameters will be deciding the performance of a system, the compiler what it was using, the instruction set, and the hardware associated with the system. So these will be affecting the performance of a system. For example, the hardware thing. Instead of taking this is an example for how the hardware design will affect. So instead of taking the data from the memory to processor, we already told the frequently used items will be storing in a new memory called cache memory, which was residing inside the processor. So its intention is it's a new design added into the hardware part. We added a new memory that is the part of the processor, and all frequently used items only will be keeping into that small memory. So that instead of accessing the data every time from the main memory, it will be taking the data from the cache. Next thing is the processor circuits are controlled by timing signal called clock. Few points I am telling here. The time the processor will be always working based on the clock associated with it. So based on certain clock associated with it, so there will be a clock signal. So based on the clock signal, the processor will be working. The clock defines the regular time interval. It's called clock cycle. So clock period or clock cycle means the regular time period of a clock signal. Next statement, please listen. To execute a machine instruction, the processor divides the action to be performed into a sequence of basic steps, such as each step can be completed in one clock cycle. What it was mentioning, if you want to execute a single instruction present inside the memory, the processor will be doing that particular execution of that instruction by a certain set of small basic steps, a sequence of small basic steps. What is the speciality of each basic step? We are assuming that each basic step will be completing in one clock cycle. So this is the major part of the explanation from performance. To execute a particular instruction, that instruction is not executing in one stretch. Instead of that, it is dividing into a certain set of basic steps, a certain set of basic steps, a certain sequence of basic steps. And what is the speciality of each of this basic step? That each basic step will be executing in one clock cycle. So that is the speciality of each basic step. Then few more equation will be added. So let P be the length of one clock cycle. So it means that one basic operation will be executing by taking P time. Such a type of n basic steps are involved in one instruction, but one condition I know that each basic step will be executing in P time. One clock cycle, we are assuming that P is the letter which will be representing one clock cycle. What do you mean by the clock rate? Clock rate is the inverse. It's actually the frequency. Frequency is the inverse of time period. The time period is represented as P, that is the one clock cycle time, and its inverse will be the frequency 1, and it is called as clock rate, that is 1 by P. What should be the unit? What is the unit of frequency? The same unit will be here for clock rate also, that's hertz. So what I was telling in this slide is mainly we will be having a clock signal is associated with the processor, and based on clock signal the processor will be doing the operation. Basic performance equation. Next we will discuss about what is basic performance equation. How can we measure a system's performance? So the performance anyway I can measure through a program only. So I am assuming that T is the value I should calculate. What that is representing the processor time required to execute a program. So if a system is having smaller value of t, it means that the processor is having higher capacity. We'll see what is this t and how can we calculate. N is representing the number of actual machine instructions present inside that program, and S is representing the average number of basic steps involved to execute one machine instruction. And we are having R, which is representing the clock rate, and we know P is representing the length of each clock cycle. So P is the time period of each instruction, and S is the number of average basic steps, and N is the number of machine instructions present inside the program. So I should calculate what is the total time required for executing a complete program. So what it is actually telling? It is actually telling, see, each clock cycle, this is the assumption I am having. You tell me how can we get this value. Each clock cycle is having 2 milliseconds. That is our assumption. And this is the program 1 I am having. I am trying to execute a program 1 on my machine. The program 1 is having only two instruction, that is first instruction is instruction 1, second instruction is instruction 2. So to only two instruction, and that is n. N is representing two instructions. How many number of instructions present in the n is representing the number of instructions present inside the program. So n is representing 2, and average number of basic steps. Average number of basic step in, we are assuming that uh, first instruction is having 3 basic step and second instruction is also having average number, so it is 3. So 3 basic steps are involved in both the instructions. Then we know that for executing one in basic step, one clock cycle is required. So total how much time is required to execute this program? That was calculated by two instructions are there. So 2 into each instruction is having how many basic steps? 3 basic steps. So 2 into 3. Then after that, and we know that each instruction executing in 2 millisecond, one clock cycle, in one clock cycle, one basic step will execute. But we are having 3 basic step for first instruction and 3 basic step for second instruction. Total 6 basic steps are there, and each basic step will be executing in 2 milliseconds. So 2 into 3 into 2 will give you the total time for executing the complete program 1 inside the processor. So that only the equation is also telling. So don't by heart this equation. It was telling T is equal to N into S into P. It was mentioned like N number of instructions are present, and each instruction is having S number of basic steps, and each basic step will be executing P time. So that is the N number of instruction. Each instruction is having S number of basic step, and each basic step is executing in P time. So total time is T is equal to N into S into P. What is the next thing? Even the same thing I can write instead of P, I can use R also. We know that P is equal to 1 by R. So I can replace it. It is like N into S by R. So this is the processor time for executing a particular instruction, a particular program. So how can we improve the value of T? So how can we, from the equation itself, you can tell number of N should be, if T should be smaller value means the time required is smaller, means processor is having high capacity for handling the instruction. So what is we can do? N value we can reduce. That means the number of instructions inside the program we can reduce. Next is number of basic steps you can reduce. Next is the time needed for executing a single program, that time also we can reduce. The single basic step is also the time required for executing the single basic step is also reduced. Then the total t value will reduce, so that the processor will be getting a higher capacity for handling the things. So that are the options for improving t. we will see few things. First, we are trying to improve the clock rate. Clock rate, how can you improve? Two different schemes will be there. One is called pipelining and superscalar operation. So pipelining means by overlapping the execution of successive instructions. Successive instruction at the same time is trying to execute, and that is called the pipelining. And superscalar means the different instructions are concurrently executing. Overlapping execution of successive instruction is happening in pipelining, but superscalar means different instructions itself will be concurrently executing. So that is called a superscalar uh, instruction or superscalar architecture. Both will be trying to improve the clock rate. Even the hardware circuit you can improve with new circuits. So that will also improve your processor capacity or improving your time period. Other than that, what is the next thing? The amount of processing can be done in a basic step. So we can trying to reduce the clock period P. But if we trying to reduce the amount of processing in a one basic step, but maybe the number of basic step may be increasing. Next thing is the instruction set should be that simple. So we will be having two different structures like reduced instruction set of computer and complex instruction set of computers. So this is just for your reference. Major thing what you have to study is this equation. This one is very important, and each and every term inside that is also important. Okay, that is the way we can find out the basic performance of a computer. But still, this is depending on many factors like the hardware circuits and instruction architecture and so many things. So this is not a standard way for calculating. So difficult calculation of t is difficult to compute in normal case. Whatever I am discussing now is very important. So what we are doing is, so for measuring the computer performance, we are using a benchmark programs. Benchmark programs means it is a set of standard programs that was having a specific standard is maintaining for that set of instruction or set of programs. So it is called, it is a set of standard programs. We can generally tell benchmark programs means it's a set of standard programs. Who will be keeping the set of standard programs? That's there is an agency called the System Performance Evaluation Corporation, SPEC. SPEC, which will be publishing a set of representative application programs from different application domains and with test result of many commercially available computers. So what is that SPEC system will be doing? SPEC system will be doing a set of uh, application programs as benchmark programs. It will be defining a set of programs like program 1, program 2, program 3, one for factorial, Fibonacci, or even your largest of two numbers, something like that you think. So it is a set of programs and that they kept as the benchmark programs, and in the same time, and in their standard computers, they will be testing how much time is required for executing this program, and its time is also recorded and giving for users. So one day I created a processor. I want to know whether this processor is better than the currently available processors. So what I am doing is, I will be taking the program what the spec has given me as a benchmark program, and I will try to execute that program in my system, and already I know how much is the time required or test result of that particular instruction in a particular program in the computers what commercially available. So that timing I will be comparing. So what is the time required for executing that benchmark program in my system and what was provided by the standard system. So the commercially available standard systems. So that we can compare and will decide which program or which processor will be better. So that is the compile and run. There is no simulation is doing. So when I created a new instruction or a new uh, computer or new processor, so that processor I will be taking any of the benchmark instruction and I will be processing that instruction. And after that, I will be running and compiling the instruction and I will be seeing how much is the time required in my system. In the same way, I already know that result of time execution in the reference computer. The reference computer means the computer which was provided by spec. So that timing has already recorded and it was given as a result. For program 1, my reference computer has taken 20 milliseconds. So the same program I am executing in my processor, the new design processor, and I am checking whether how much time my system has taken. So that comparison will be doing during the performance measurement. Please look into this instruction. This equation if we wrote last semester, you got 6 marks. This was asked as an 8-mark question, and if you just write this next to two instruction, you are awarded with the 6 marks. This was asked in the last semester. So how can you find out the spec rating of a computer? The spec rating of a computer can be running time on the reference machine. That means the spec has already given the result how much time it has taken divided by the running time on the computer under test. Computer under test is my system what I have developed. So that ratio will be called as spec rating of the computer. So the running time of a reference machine that was provided by spec divided by that running time on my own developed system, and it is called the spec rating of the computer. And we already know that it is providing a set of representative application programs, or even in the first slide it was mentioned like it is benchmark programs. I told it is not only one program. So in the first, with respect to one program, if I did, it is called a spec rating. The spec rating of how many programs? N number of benchmark programs are there. So we are doing the spec rating for all the programs and its product will be giving the spec rating of our developed computer. So this is the symbol will be showing, the symbol will be showing like it is a multiplication operation. So it is a multiplication operation. So from 1 to n number of programs we are considering. In each time, the spec of I will be spec rating of the that particular program will be checking. It's raised to of 1 by n will be giving you the complete spec rating of the system. So the benchmark program is having a set of programs. So for with respect to each program, what is the spec of I will be calculating and its products raised to 1 by n will be giving the spec rating of the computer. This is very, very important. So how can we find out the spec rating of a computer? With respect to the reference computer, the time how much it has taken on the reference computer divided by the time under test, the time required for the computer under test, that will be taking the ratio and it is called a spec rating. And the spec rating of a complete system will be calculating with respect to all programs in the benchmark system. So that means the spec I for all the programs will be calculating and its product raised to 1 by n will be giving the spec rating of a your newly discovered processor. That's all. We have finished our first module. First chapter, first module is contained two chapters. First chapter got finished. The next chapter will be machine instructions and programs that we'll discuss in our next class. Okay, thank you all.